Hi, my name is Jada Wickware, and I am currently getting my bachelor's degree in early childhood education. I'm currently very interested for a little bit now with kindergarten, so most definitely in the elementary side of things. The reason I really chose to even be in kindergarten is because I really love how we, the ones that are in kindergarten, are the first thing that child will learn. Wherever you do, that child will know, whether it's the little things such as ABCs and 1, 2s, 3s, or the even a little higher, 1 + 1 = 2. The little things as that I cannot wait to notice in a child. I can't wait to see their milestone. I can't wait to see every little thing that has to do with a child, like just understanding and learning little things such as that. I had the privilege, because of classes, to observe kids, and it's an amazing thing to watch for sure, because it's so many different personalities, it's so many different kids, it's so many different backgrounds, cultures, whatever the case may be. It's just so fascinating to just watch them blossom more and more, especially being there from the beginning of the semester to the end, and how much growth they got. I don't know about the teachers that do teach kindergarten, but the ones have been with, that is one of the things they always said that is like the most, like, what is the word, like, just, it's like a heartwarming feeling, because it's like, wow, this is where they were, this is where they at, and they achieved so many things, and they don't even realize how good they're becoming, and how, like, from then to now, it's only going to get better, in that way. So I really appreciate just seeing that, and I can't wait for those challenges when it's time for me to get into the field of that. When it comes to math, I'm not gonna lie, I have struggled. It's certain parts such as geometry that I did not understand. Calculus, my senior year, was not my go-to, but for some reason algebra has always stood 10 toes with me. I don't know if it's just very fascinating that I understand little things that comes with algebra, and I remember a lot of things because of the background of it just from previous grade levels. But when it comes to algebra, that is like my go-to. Like, it doesn't take that much for me to, like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. Now, I'm not saying I'm the best, because it do take me some time. Obviously, I watch the videos. Maybe I even have to research it on YouTube to get it right. But eventually, I'm understanding, But yes. I also want to mention, I said this on the actual, like, when we wrote it, but I also feel like algebra is kind of like a puzzle, where it's like, okay, I'm trying to figure out what this go with this, and it's like you're intrigued by how you gotta find it, basically. Like, it's not just going, you once you solve it, you be like, oh, that's what it was. It's kind of that feeling, and I like that feeling. And I'm sorry, I'm looking down at my iPad because that's where the questions are. What part of math you not like? I mentioned geometry. I don't know, when it comes to graphs, when it comes to shapes, when it comes to just lines and symmetry and everything of that sort, I don't know why, but I struggle so bad on it. I don't know if it's just too much to understand, too much to grasp, or what, but when it comes to those type of things, it's so hard for me to understand. Now, I feel like there's so many ways to understand math, so maybe the way I was taught just wasn't the way that I understood best. But since that was only one grade level, one little class, I really didn't really get into it to understand it as much as I would with algebra. But I really, truly, that's my downfall. And, well, like I mentioned when I wrote it down, one of the things that I feel like we really struggle, or elementary struggle mostly today, is more so the child attention span when it comes to technology. I feel like nowadays schools really rely on technology, and sometimes it's for the best of the goods, like obviously like to keep them occupied, but at the same time it's like they're already at home on technology, they're probably on their way to school on technology, and now they're back on technology. Like sometimes I feel like a child may need a break, because sometimes that attention span is just getting lower and lower because they're so used of being on that technology. So I feel like that's the worst of it, is just being on technology. And by the way, I do keep looking down. It's because I have an iPad and I'm reading the questions. Do you think that elementary school students use AI to do their work? I do, but I don't think it's the younger kids. I honestly think it's like fifth, sixth, and maybe even fourth, that may be using AI, especially probably for homework, probably something they don't understand. Maybe it's something they do and they just don't feel like doing the whole motion of things. Whatever the case may be, that's what I do think they may be using it for. I kind of spoke on that when it came to the do students use it, the elementary students. But what issues do you think AI being used by elementary school students? Some issues kind of go back to, like I said, with the technology. I feel like technology is kind of just taking over our minds at this point. I feel like we kind of been getting lazy. I feel like we don't really think as much, because in our head, why if we know we could just ask AI and they already got the answer, you know? Do you think that AI use by elementary school students is a good idea? I think it could be in the middle, for sure. I could for sure be in the middle, just because of its pros and its cons. Obviously I've been talking about the cons, but obviously it has its pros, the learning programs, everything in that sort. Sometimes people may learn just over and over doing the same thing on the iPad more than what we do at the table, you know? What are some of the ways elementary school students use AI at school? Like I said, help them understand the material. Yes, like I said, it has its pros and cons. I know when I observe, they usually get on this program where it helps them, especially for math. Obviously, we all know math is kind of the hardest thing sometimes to do when it comes to us learning, in the beginning stage of us learning. But yeah, so that helped them understand the processes needed to solve the problem. I used to do that more so if, like I said, in geometry, I just didn't understand her way. So I would need a different way to understand, because sometimes the way the teacher may do it may not work with what somebody else is doing or understanding or understood the way, you know, if that makes sense. I know I'm all over the place. Or do they work for them? Obviously, like I said, we are getting lazy. So obviously, yes, I wouldn't even put that past us. Yes. Do you think college students use AI in their classes? I do. I feel like I've used it on my own, but not in a cheating way. More so back to like when I was in college algebra. Sometimes the way she would like teach, I just could not understand it. I could not like fathom how she got to that, you know? So sometimes, like I said, I would have to ask AI, how does she get that to that? Or how do you literally step by step do this problem? Or even just go to YouTube and search up the problem, and 9 times 10 they already got it on there. Or just examples of it. But I do feel like obviously we all college students use it. And I feel like that's exactly why professors are kind of like more heavy duty when it comes to like proctor or the turn-in, to actually show that, okay, she's literally showing her work, she's literally using her notes, she's literally just learning and doing what she learned on here, you know? How do you think college students use AI in their classes? Like I said, all the choices is basically what I said, like to do their homework, to write their papers, to solve their math problems, to show them how to solve the problem, or just on their exams. Now, on the exams, I don't know how people do that. Obviously, for me, I'm always on proctor. That's literally impossible to do. If you do that, I think you need to start over, because I just feel like it's never that serious to be doing that in the case. in that case, that's insane to me, honestly. It just doesn't get to that point. But some people may do that, honestly. What issues do you see with college students using AI? I feel like I said, with the younger crowd, it's the same with us older crowd. I feel like our attention span is crazy right now. It's actually insane on how our attention span is little to nothing because of our lives, our everything surrounds by technology. Like it takes a lot to learn now, more than back in the day how we were taught to learn the correct way, in the most patient way, in the most write it on your own way. You know, I just feel like it just falls back to technology, sadly, very much so, and how it just takes our mind a lot. It takes over our mind a lot, sadly. What do you use AI for in college? I already explained, I guess, in a way of just, you can use it to solve problems if you're confused. You can use it to get some ideas off your brain on certain essays you have to do, but you don't know quite what to do. More so to push you a little more to get it done instead of just plain out cheating. What AI applications do college students use in their classes? They said math, history. Wait, were we supposed to put like what apps? AI apps? Oh, I literally did not. I just put the check. For math, I know they have like photo math, I think. History, I'm not sure. English, I'm not sure. Science, business, nursing. All I know is the math, literally. Do you think that using AI in education is a good idea? Yes, like I said, I feel like it has its pros and its cons for sure. Because like I said, some people may be a visual learner than the people that needs to touch or literally need to listen, you know? I don't know. It really all depends. Do you think that AI will help the students in the long run to truly understand the material? Maybe. I feel like it's in the middle. I feel like it has its benefits, but it's always going to have like that error, if that makes sense. Like it's always going to fall short on something, in my opinion. Obviously, people think AI is perfect, but I feel like when it comes to us humans, it's going to fall short just because of how we were taught things, and now we're getting used to what they, you know? I don't know. And lastly, as a future teacher or a parent, what would you do about the use of AI in education? I mentioned in this that I really want to be strict on how we use AI because, again, I don't want anybody lazy-minded. I don't want anyone to really rely on AI because, honestly, at that point, you're not even thinking. You're not even giving your brain that nutrients that it needs to form thoughts because you're too, like, oh, AI can do it. You know, like, I don't know. I want it to be strict when it comes to that, where it's like a no, like, I really want iPads in there, you know? Like, I want us to genuinely learn the way I was taught and how back in the day, how we truly were taught without iPads, without technology like that. Obviously, we had technology, but we didn't have iPads for fun. I think I didn't have iPads till I literally made it to like 6th grade up to middle school, and I feel like at that point I already knew like the process of learning and how to do things without technology relying on that. And I feel like our technology usage wasn't as like it wasn't like grabbable to do, like, if that makes sense, where as of now it's easy, like you can literally put it on Google and they got it for you. I feel like it was kind of harder to do that if we tried to, at least. But on the good side, I would love to use AI more so to create ideas to have fun with my kids. Maybe creative ideas that I can't think of or what the district is telling us to do, but maybe to put a little mix in it so all the kids would still have a good time using it. You know, it has its pros and its cons, using it for good or not doing it the best way. But I don't know. That's how I would feel as a teacher. But yeah. Bye.